The technology exists today to transform organizations. You don't need to wait for the next generation or AGI. It's there right now, and we see this every day. Welcome to the Implement AI podcast, the podcast where we explore the impact of AI on your business. I'm Piers Linney, and alongside my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Alok Shukla, we cover the real-world applications and impact of how AI can be practically applied to drive growth and efficiency in your organization. We cut through the jargon to focus on actionable strategies and use cases to highlight the transformational power of AI. Let's dive into today's conversation. I'm Piers.
I'm Alok.
Right, so it's August. It's holiday season. Although we're not having holidays, are we?
I went to India for a bit, so I get the end of the month.
I'm taking the kids to Mallorca. We'll spend a bit of time at sea, playing in sort of in the Med. But yeah, we're sort of full on really. But we are getting there on our seed round, which is all good news. Hopefully, we'll have an announcement there. Well, maybe by the next podcast, actually, depending when this goes out. So we thought we'd do a different one. We've had some guests on the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue doing that over time. We don't want to run out of them. We thought what we'd do actually is we get a lot of people asking us about the real world application of AI and AI agents and our digital workers, and we do events, and we're going to go through a bit of the content from one of our events towards the end of the pod. We thought today that what we do, make it a bit more visual as well, because it can be quite abstract. So we're talking about digital workers, because you can't technically, or you can't obviously see them. Although we do give them personalities and pictures sometimes, because we have actually tested that, and it just helps people get to grips with them. What we're going to do though is do some demos. So we're going to show you the AIOS, because that's our platform, and we're going to show you how we sort of deploy the agents, what they can do, what they're capable of. So we're going to go through three. Well, we're going to start with paths to transformation. So how do you get there? How do you approach it? Do you hire people? Do you hire digital workers? When do you hire people? When do you have autonomous agents? And when do you have people that are humans that are augmented with agents as well? So how do you make that decision? Our strap line is, grow your workforce, not your payroll. So what does that actually mean? And then we're going to look at the transformation. If you're a large organization, you've got processes, workflows. And I was talking to a company yesterday, that's a listed company, actually, a reasonably large company, about, okay, where do we start? And what does AI first look like? And what's that journey? So we're going to talk about that. And then in the second half, we're going to start and show you and go through some demos. So this is AIOS, a recruitment demo as well. This is more about call agents. So we have outbound agents. They can handle inbound calls as well. But the power of outbound call agents is something that it amazes me, and it amazes lots of our customers. And then we're going to show you, because voice is one thing, but email is a common form of communication. But in your emails, and we all know we get a lot of emails, there's value trapped in those emails. So we've got an email analyst agent as well, which will go through your emails, find opportunities, and we'll show you that. And then the really interesting one, that I think my favorite, is the computer use agent. And this is a game changer. And these are evolving very, very quickly. And this is where it can use a mouse, you can use a keyboard, you can see a screen, and it can do things that humans can do. Really. And the use case we're going to show you today is really about research. So, Ala, over to you. Let's talk about paths to transformation. Our strapline is grow your workforce, not your payroll. To you, what does that mean? When do you hire someone? We've had some great instances in the last week, actually, of showing you where this really matters. When do you hire? When you don't hire? And maybe I'll touch on the 3 R's again in terms of the vectors.
Exactly. So let's just talk about paths to transformation, right? So if you're thinking about, whether they should use AI or not use AI, that's one thing. But then if you're thinking like, okay, I want to do this, I want to actually embrace this in my company, there's 2 paths basically, right? So one path is going to be like, okay, I actually understand this presents a fundamental shift to our business, and we've got senior leadership team, we've got decent sized company, and we can't just do this as a bolt-on. We actually need to like almost transform our thinking and everything. That's where you would kind of go that pathway where you work with us. We will help you build an AI center of excellence. What that is basically a team from your side and also from our side where you can actually understand the opportunities, the strategies, and also like create almost like a strategic roadmap of like where AI can transform your business, either to drive revenue, increase support capacity, or transform the experience of the proposition through personalization. In that approach, what we will then do is work with you in a program, and then you can actually bring your team on a journey and they start understanding this can be done, that can be done, these kind of opportunities. So that's one pathway basically, right?
And just on that, the thing I always say is that it's quite hard with AI because it can be abstract as well, but there's no historical frame of reference. So until you've seen an email list do its thing, an outbound call agents do its thing, or computer user agent do its thing, you can't understand what it does, how it does it, and what the capabilities are. So that's really important. And again, that our sense of excellence is it's your working group. It's got to be horizontal, senior leadership, but also vertical into your business, because often you won't know if you're senior leader what people are spending 2 hours a day doing that could be automated. And then we engage with you to look at the automation opportunities, and that's where you get your sense of excellence from your working group plus us.
Exactly. And what's not being done. The other way is basically like, I've got all these open job titles listed on my website and for hiring. And right now I'm recruiting, but I'm asking the question, could AI do this or help me at least not need
Which is what we do every day.
Yeah. And to be honest, I had a brilliant meeting with a business owner yesterday. And actually it was 2 days ago, then they referred me to another senior leader in their team basically. And they basically said like, look, we need people in support. We have to support all of our customers, and delivering a very good experience is very important for us. But we literally hired somebody and they went on sick leave the next day and off for 4 or 5 days, basically. And they were saying to me, like, even if the AI is 30 or 40% as good, I'm happy because I'd rather be training.
Better than zero. Yeah.
I mean, like, how can you join a job and go on sick leave the next day? Like, I mean, it's 1 day is fine, but 4 days in a row anyway, whatever. But the point I'm trying to make here is that like more and more we're getting people that from like the operations capacity, they're kind of saying like, I don't want to hire more people. I just can't throw bodies at the problem, because what happens then also is you lose that knowledge that people have, and so you haven't got some system. So they're asking a very wise question, like, what would it look like to have a digital co-worker in that department, or to have people, or even with some businesses we're talking about, they're even thinking about like, how could an entire department be transferred to AI and shift it? So for example, one business we're working with, they have people making outbound calls, but they actually want to shift everything so that the agents make all the outbound calls and then the team deal with only inbound calls. So it's higher value and higher, growth they can do. So you could have a fundamental re-engineer. So in that approach, it's basically like, okay, I want to spin up some digital workers and get that working. So how can we do that basically? So that's like much more strategic in that way. But both pathways are valid, and you can obviously start with one and move to the other. But I think the key thing is like, you have to almost think, where am I going to apply this and where am I going to do this? Because I'll tell you also like where things fail. Where things fail is where someone says, okay, I want to do some AI, and then they don't get their senior leadership involved. And then those people are then almost left to kind of manage or see what kind of like deployment happens. And they don't even have an understanding. And so they're asking the wrong questions. And to be very honest with you, it's real waste of time and opportunity in those sorts of situations. So it's very important. Like, we've done so many meetings this week and last week where we've been introduced into a meeting, and basically it's because we met the senior leaders and they introduced their operations team, who have no idea who we are or no idea what we do. And then when we're talking about and showing demos, I can almost see when I show like 2 or 3 demos, like the lights go on in their eyes, because before that they were almost like, why am I in this meeting, basically, right? Like, and then immediately after,
Why's my chief exec told me to talk to Piers?
exactly. And then well, as soon as they see a few, they're suddenly like, okay, well, you could do this, you could do that. And I really love that, right? So there's some businesses that have been around for like, 40 years, 50 years, and then they've got, distributors across
I
Europe.
won yesterday. It's been around 150.
Yeah, exactly. And what I really like about it is like the breadth and range of business owners that are like embracing this. Like, I had someone I was talking to yesterday. They sell 80% of their business is in Europe, and they've got lots of distributors, obviously in Dutch, German, stuff like that. So I was talking about multilingual agents. He goes, it's very interesting you mentioned that, because that's something we want to kind of like look at and how we can do, because our distributors are really quite backwards, basically. They do everything on Excel and Post-it notes and everything like this. So So there's a big, and I was really impressed with the vision and energy of the owner. You're a very experienced business owner, and like, but this is the thing, right? This is the window, this is the wave, basically, right? And the key thing is like you got to start like somewhere, like start in a department or start like planning everything so you can actually then pick which departments can go into, basically. Right? But the point is, you have to take the blinders off and you have to actually start experimenting and feeling, because until you actually experience it, you're not going to be able to get anywhere, basically.
I think I won't go into too much detail on it because we've done it before, but it's the three vectors of variability. If it's very variable, you do lots of different things. Humans are better at that. If it's low value, AIs are very good at that. If it's very high value, you're probably not going to get an AI to close, selling a Bentley or Lambo. And then you've got the sort of the vector, the sort of velocity, sorry. So if it's a huge amount of throughput data, AIs are better at that. So if you've got very high velocity data, low to medium value, and it's not particularly variable, AIs, okay? If it's the opposite, it's humans, isn't it? But everything in the middle is augmented humans using AI
It doesn't have to be binary, right? Like if a process is multi-step, where, for example, you like let's most complex high value sales are not like doing a call with a charismatic and very knowledgeable person and trying to do everything in one call. It's a multi-step process. It's like, okay, you want to buy an electric Bentley or whatever like that, for example. Like, okay, what car do you have right now? Do you have the right charging infrastructure in your house already for this kind of thing? Do you have different details? Are you trading in a car? If you're trading in a car, what car? There's a lot of data capture that could be done with AI, assisted, to at least then when it's time to actually like talk about it, it could be a lot better for those people. It could be like, understanding, like if you want to know like how much your trading value is going to be, or like different elements, or what options there are available for the customization, AI can help in those things. Obviously the final thing's going to go from the people, but we've got to stop thinking just binary and start thinking in terms like that whole kind of like journey and life cycle, basically, right? So
But you've got to start looking at process, your workflows, and start and do something to learn about, as you were saying, what the tech's capable of, how you implement it in the business, how you take your stakeholders with you in your team. So that's the transformation, really, isn't it? We do a lot of work on this. We've got a lot of insight, and 2 years doing this, which is a long time in this game. In our resource center, if you haven't been to our resource center, you should go and log in and look at it. We've got a white paper in there. We wrote some time ago now, probably is updating, but it's called How to Implement AI. The clue in the title, and a lot of this is included in there. And there's a new one about the AIOS, which we'll talk about at the end. But there's a lot of information in there that explains how to start this process.
yeah, that white paper, the new one, which we'll talk about at the end, your future digital workforce, like showed it to many people, and they always say there's a lot of clarity in that, and it gives me a really clear pathway to go to. And that one talks about use cases, how to apply it, all of that kind of stuff. Very important.
So let's move on to let's do some demos there. So AI agents, we have different agents. Some agents have personas, like outbound call agents, and we have Lexi. If you haven't spoken to Lexi on our website, go to our website, click on services, AI agents, and you'll see a button, and you can basically request a call from Lexi. So we call her Lexi. It's got an image of a female. It could be Brian with a Manchester accent. It's completely up to you. So they're personas. Some don't. So we'll have analyst agents where they don't interact with people directly, so they don't need to have personas as well. So the AIOS that we built, this highly configurable platform that allows you to stand up agents, and we'll do a summary of that. And it's got different capabilities and integrations. And the point then is when you stud them up, people can't really get to grips with what do these agents do and what does it look like. So what we're going to do is go through 3 demos. Again, a recruitment and a call agent. We're going to go through an email analyst agent, and we're going to go through a computer use agent. Over to you, Art.
So let's start with a mini tour of the AIOS first of all, then we'll delve deeper into some of the agents, basically, right? So let me just share my screen. So first of all, if you think about our AIOS, it's our AI operating system, and there's like 3 parts to it. One part is agent teams. The other part is our agentic CRM, or the memory or the brain, if you want to call it that. And the third part is the agentic task engine, so it can actually get lots of different things done and spin up different agents. So let's talk about them in different sections. So the AI agent teams. So we have sales team, support team, task team, computer use, analyst, and we've got research, for example. Now, the way to think about these teams is it's like workers with different skills. So the sales team can make phone calls, do emails, do live chat. Same thing with like the support team as well. And they can also access knowledge bases and link into different systems, more than 300 different connections. But the way you have to also understand it is it doesn't have to be a sales team. It could be a customer success team, or it could be an accounts receivable team chasing people. So we just call it these things, but you can actually configure them how you want to, basically, right? So if we think about that within the sales team, what we can actually do, we can actually spin up different agents. And so when we're setting up an agent, we can have all the different elements within there. So if we have a little look at what the details are, we can then start to see, what is the actual, prompt objective? What is the campaign objective? What are the different details? All those different elements within there.
And just a little confusing. So your team could be one agent, but it could be 50 agents doing the same thing. I've got one team.
Yeah, you could have, for example, a sales agent which is doing reactivation. So people who've not bought for more than 8 months will contact them and reactivate by email or phone. You could have a different one which is attached to a web form. When somebody opts in, it can call them immediately and follow up in that kind of way. You could have a different one which is then like looking through your database in terms of an analyst to understand where some opportunities are. So that's like an example there. Support team, as I say, like they're able to actually do those support tasks, but also like escalate to humans, write tickets, write documents, look at all those different elements within that area there. So that's the kind of teams. The other part of it is the agentic CRM. So what this is basically it's the kind of like the memory of the agent. So it's able to actually see all the conversations that took place. So if you kind of go into a conversation, you can then see the full transcript of whatever happened. And then the agent knows all of that information. It's also got like all details of any email chats and everything like that.
So again, just to avoid any confusion, it's not a CRM in terms of you're not going to stand it up to do email campaigns and nurture campaigns. It's the memory. So often you might have your existing CRM. It might be Salesforce Dynamics. It could be HubSpot, Pipedrive, whatever you use, and that's got your customer information and it's got your you use it a lot to do sort of marketing and content distribution. What you can do with this though is plug in all the data you capture in this agentic CRM, which might be conversational data about what somebody's favorite color and also what dog have they got. But when you create that personalized email, you can now use this data that we've captured in this kind of vectorized 3D database to create hyper personalized communications and content for those customers in your existing CRM.
Exactly. So here you can see this in this section for this fictional record for Jeff Bezos, it's got additional information here. So this is added by a different agent, which kind of enriches it. So the thing is, when an agent is talking to this person, it knows all these facts, which we can get from research or analysis or different things, and it knows the conversations of the past. So it means it can extremely personalize in different ways. So you could do this based on like someone being a lapsed customer, that can be within here, or it could be that their preference is for a particular brand of product. That can be within here.
I mean, all the conversations no matter how you communicate it, WhatsApp, email, SMS, voice.
It's got that central memory. So it's the same agent, whether it's on phone, email, voice, WhatsApp, everything like that. So that's those different elements. Then if we talk about the task engine, what this here is basically is we can spin up any type of agent. So here, for example, this is an automated reporting agent. So it's like checking in a folder to like, a report which has been downloaded by a computer use agent. It's then analyzing that, creating a summary, and then, creating an executive summary and sending it input by email and by Slack message. And then, our solutions team does all of the kind of coding and development to kind of make those things happen. But this is like out of the box. This system can connect to like more than 300 different systems, and any kind of like different type of task or system can be spun up from within here. So it's very powerful. So this is kind of like the overview of like how our AI operating system can really help you, whether you want to add one digital worker to a department or many, to an entire, almost like an entire department.
So you can add your knowledge base, can't you? So you can provide content and context as well to be moving.
Exactly. So we've got that knowledge base within here, and then integrations. We've got like more than 300 integrations from Slack, SharePoint, Google Docs, Zoom, Teams, everything you can think about. All those different integrations are there. So that gives you a bit of an understanding about like where we are with that kind of stuff. Let's now talk about a little campaign, basically, right? So we can look at like how did that work for recruitment. So I'll just share my screen for this. So we did a campaign. So if I like here, so if I just make this a bit bigger. So we did a campaign where basically there was 2,400 people or so, which kind of needed to be called in order to actually, book in as a recruitment company, basically, right? And then what happened is like we had a campaign where basically here, yes. So we had a campaign basically where there was like 2,383 people that need to be contacted for the recruitment company. And then what we did is we set the AI agent to do that. So between 10 a.m. and 2:30.
All right, let's just go backwards slightly though. So the context is they have a database of 200,000 people, right? There is more demand for those people than there is currently they can supply, and that's not because they haven't got the people in the database. It's because they physically can only contact about in a year or whatever the time frame was about 5,000 people using humans on the phone saying, "How are you? Where are you? Are you available to work? When are you available to work?" and updating the CRM. So 5,000 out of 200,000 purely because of the capacity constraints.
Exactly. So what we wanted to do was like call these 2,383 people on a Saturday morning. So between 10 a.m. and 2:30, our AI agent Ava did it in 4.5 hours, basically, right? Now, if you think about what this would have actually taken for people to do, so if you were actually trying to replicate this with humans, you would need 23 people working. 23 people working with a
But
manager.
also on a Saturday.
Yes, exactly. And your cost of like the humans doing everything is going to be much higher, basically, right? Like, so you're going to be like nearly like, close to £2,300 worth of like labor, but the AI agents only cost £160 in credits because the thing is, when you call 2,300 people, not everybody answers. So the 25% that answered the phone call, they have conversations. The 75% that didn't answer, there is zero cost to those things. But with humans, you would still have to pay them to like call, make a note that nobody answered and they was trying to reach and everything like that. That kind of worked in that kind of way. So the point there is you have like 4.5 hours of AI doing it versus 84 hours of humans doing it. That gives you like a huge, advantage. And from the calls that go on, I'd say like 97%, 98%, there is no mention of, is this an AI or anything like that, basically. And then a few of them actually said, are you an AI? It says, yes, I'm a member of the team. And they just continue the conversation, basically, right? So that's like a real concrete example. Like if contacting lots of businesses or contacting lots of people is important to you, you really want to think about, the economics and also the speed and volume of contacting people with AI based.
And what really works really well, a reactivation campaign, which is similar use case.
So let's talk about a different one. So we've talked about where we can actually reach people when they're actually when they're actually want to contact them by phone call. But let's look at a different use case, right? So imagine in your business you've got 10 staff members. They've all got 10 email inboxes. And over the last 4 years when they've been working together, there has been many emails that came in. Now, I think you would know that sometimes emails come into an inbox, but they've not opted in on your website or they've not opted in anywhere else. And if they don't get added into your CRM, you've got no way of tracking that. So humans just get busy and sometimes that can be an issue. So this is an email analyst agent, which is spun up from our task engine. And basically what this will then do is it then allows you to then actually go through different email inboxes. So what we did here is we created a portal in Airtable and then we linked up using our AIOS to the email inbox of the business, basically, right? What that then does is it goes through all the emails, and I'm not talking about each week, I'm talking about years, basically, right? So it can go back, 2 years or so, and it can spot all the companies that were there. So it extracts the domain names, you got all the names of companies. It can spot who was answered and who was not answered. And then it can also spot what would be a good thing to contact them about. And it can also enrich on them. So it can actually, we link in with Apollo, for example. So then we can enrich and get the data on the companies from within there. So what this means is you've got all the insights about who should be contacted and reactivated. This solution alone could be very powerful for you. And I'm just showing you here how it works within the task engine. But imagine being able to never miss a lead again or never miss an opportunity. That's a very powerful prospect, especially when you've got years of business. If you're acquiring a business and then you can suddenly on day one turn this on and almost get lost opportunities which they didn't even know they had. This gives you those advantages, isn't it, Piers, basically, right?
Well, this is one of my favorite slides on our decks, which is the X-ray vision, isn't it? So you've got data. So really, AI is your say as data streams, and what can you do? What value can you extract from those data streams, right? So human resource can get to a certain level. AI goes to a completely different level. So your email inbox is a data source essentially. So what value you can extract, and this is like your infrared or your night vision goggles, essentially, where you put them on and suddenly you can start to see things. The thing I often get wrong, I do diarize it, is, it's August and then we've got an away day. So can you get back to us in early October, right? And it's making sure you don't miss anything like that whatsoever. And again, the columns in that table there, you can create a column that does anything. And then you can spin up another agent to go and do the work to complete that column, whether it's enrichment, whether it's going to company's house,
Going into your CRM and finding out their last order dates.
News media, look at the signals in the market. You can enrich it to whatever extent you want to.
And these are like very powerful things you can do, because like just that one use case of going through emails and spotting upsell or cross-sell potential, that could add a huge amount of revenue to like professional services organization, like an accounting firm, a legal firm, or whatever like that. And all these things are like analysts. So the thing to think about is like, it's not going to necessarily communicate with your customers. You could have an agent which would do that, but this could just be forwarding to one of your team members to be able to like do it in that way, basically, right? So that's like
The last thing I add is you can start to look at patterns. So, in a certain time frame, you may have had marketing or PR activity. Well, what happened? What were the signals in the market? What feedback do we get? So you can start looking for patterns, and not just patterns you need to look for. You can ask for patterns that you didn't know you should be looking for.
I'm going to look for the computer one that I'll introduce it. 1 second. So this agent now is like one of your favorite one, basically, is one of my favorite ones too as well, basically, right? So this is a computer use agent. So sometimes there's data you want to find, which is like up to the minute. So you want to find things which are like almost just happened recently. So how could you almost, if you think about you had a person just searching for you and finding things, they could find you lots of different interesting things, but it's not economical to always do that. So here we've got a computer use agent. So you can see it's using the screen. You see all those boxes. That's all the information it can capture from different areas. Here it's actually researching for different types of job postings that just became available with the dates and different information, and it can extract all the information. So you see those bounding boxes, they're almost like it's taking snaps of those things.
That's a zoom out. It's like, look, yours up to like the 15-meter board. So computer use, right? You may have heard about it. Anthropic's got calls it computer use. OpenAI, they call it operator. Okay, and you can go in there, and actually OpenAI, ChatGPT Plus and Pro, they've got the agent that can go off and do things for you. So it's similar to that. So we've got a back end that has a similar capability. And the point here is basically you've got to think of it as a more almost like a remote worker. So something they can use a keyboard, a mouse, and they can understand what's on a screen. When I'm in the screen, I don't mean in a browser. It can use a computer, so you can go and find applications on whatever computer it is, open them, log in. You can even give it a phone number. So if it's 2FA, it's sending a text. It can have a text message, and so it logs in, and then it can use the application, whether it's browser based or whether it's an application, and then you can give it instructions of what to do, and it can understand, because if AIs can see, it can understand what's in a room, it can understand what somebody looks like, it can see what's on the screen, understand the context, and move the mouse accordingly, and type at obviously superhuman speed as well. So if you think about where that's going, the opportunity is enormous.
Exactly. So here it's like, you see, it's able to extract information in parallel, and it could open up 20 browsers if you wanted to, right? And work on 20 computers in parallel, searching in Liverpool, searching in Manchester, searching in London, searching in Leeds, and getting all that information. And because it's part of our AIOS, all the information it takes snapshots of, it can then be passed into any other system within our system, basically, right? So, it's super powerful, like having the ability to.
I'll give the dental practice example
Yeah,
where
exactly. So,
they've got an API.
exactly. So in that example, basically, there's an organization we work with, and their software, their medical dental software, doesn't have any API. So if you want to schedule an appointment, you have to use different software, literally on a different computer in each location, basically, right? So in that situation, what we built is a computer use agent which can log in via remote desktop, actually open up that application, then search and then update the information. So we've got two agents. We've got a voice agent which then discusses the opportunities and what's available for scheduling, and then that will then populate a sheet, and then the other agent then takes it from the sheet and then it will actually put it into the calendar diary, basically, right? So you can spin up agent teams to do very cool things. That could also be used in accounting for reconciliation or different systems, or it even be used for automated reporting, logging into different areas and grabbing the reports and then analyzing them. So computer use is enormous, basically, right?
If you've got no API, this can just log into an application or log in via a browser and do what you need to do. And think about, so this is getting better, it's getting faster all the time, but you can essentially, in the not too distant future, have, as many as you like, essentially remote workers that can almost do anything you ask them to. So it's extremely powerful. There's more complex setup because you need to give it a very clear instructions and work out what the process is. But once they're working, they're just going to get faster and faster. So we've done 3 demos there. So you've had call agent, the power of voice. It is super powerful. And again, people will say, well, I was sort of compared to our human resource. Well, you can't, because the capacity, the speed, they always update the CRM to whatever extent you want. You can
all the names of the companies and everything. We've got all those different things, all the people that were working with other places.
yeah, you're capturing conversational data as well in that agentic CRM. So I always say, don't compare AIs to the almighty. You got to compare them to the alternative, basically, which is sort of human resource. So we've done that one. We've done the email analyst agent. So that's not a standalone agent. We can spin those up as many as you like in the task engine, and then the computer use. So what's this space on computer use? Right. So let's go through. So we had an event earlier this year, a couple of months ago. And we took all the content from that event, which was really about talking about the AIOS and how you use agents, and we've condensed it into a document. That's in our resource center, which is on our website. But let's just flick through that as well to end. But before we do that, though, if you're new to this podcast, so the clues in the name, implement AI. So we help organizations of all sizes increasingly, they're getting bigger all the time, to implement AI. So it's not just, we're not consultants. We have programs called AI Activate, which helps you to start that journey, take your organization with you, your stakeholders, pilot, 1 to 3 pilots, all the lights start to go on, and you deploy in production on our AIOS, which is our platform. We also are working with some larger customers as well on sort of managed services, where we're building kind of end-to-end solutions. So there's a podcast with a lot of content in the resource center as well. If you enjoy the podcast, and this really does help us, just take a moment. We'll put a link in the show notes to review it, especially on Apple.
Yeah,
That really
please
helps.
write a review. Writing a
Yeah,
review makes a
I
big
think we'll
difference.
go over the rankings. We're like top 20 in UK management now on Apple. And we want to get into top 10 on all of them, basically, including sort of general business. Because I think the most podcasts on AI are talking about, ethics and, where it's going and universal basic readiness. That's fine. And we listen to all those podcasts, but ours is about the practicalities of where does the AI rubber hit the operational road. So let's just go through our document quickly.
Exactly. So if we have a look at inside this document with the future digital workforce, the whole point of it is to actually help you understand a concrete way, what does a digital workforce actually look like? So we talk about the three vectors: revenue growth, capacity expansion, experience transformation. And then we go into a lot of detail where it's what are the 6 essential components of an AI agent? What are the practical applications in sales department? What are practical applications in customer support and operations? What about compute use? How could you use that? And we give different industry examples from different places. We talk about the benefits of having the central memory and context management, and then also some ROI frameworks, so you can actually build business cases for some of those different areas. We talk about data streams and competitive advantage, AI-first business design and fundamental thinking, technical architecture, implementation considerations, and then real-life examples and case studies, right? So we even then go through specific departments, like how to create a 24/7 department, how to have data enrichment in advanced ways for customer intelligence, technology deep dive, computer use capabilities, APIs, ethical best practices, financial modeling, future roadmap, and we even give you a glossary. I mean, it's quite comprehensive, basically, right? And it's all real-world stuff.
Yes, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that. If you're listening, go to our resource center, implementai.io, click on resource center, and you can access all these documents there. And we just try and make it as many of these documents as possible, make it as easy as possible to understand. And we're adding more and more demos as well, because again, it can be abstract to a lot of people, and it's quite important to see them. Right, so hopefully we'll bring another guest on in the next podcast. Also, we're going to do more demos as well to sort of help you understand, you guys see these things in action. And we're also going to bring on some customers as well, because they can then talk to you about their experience and their journey, and how we sort of work with them and how they've approached this AI adoption. Because as we always say, right, we're in the dial-up internet age of AI, okay? It's moving very, very quickly. I was on a conversation yesterday with a reasonably large listed company, and they get it, right? They've got 2,000 people, and they get it that they've got to start understanding and doing something now. They need to upskill their senior leadership who don't really get it. That's quite important. We've got to start working on it now, because it's gathering pace, and it's going to be hard. And people, and we always say this, right? It sounds salesy, but I actually mean this because we see it happening. It's gathering pace, and it's going to be harder and harder to kind of catch up and to take your organization on that journey, because it can be such transformational change. And often what we see now is it's not just taking the processes and workflows you've got and automating them. It's looking at them once you've seen the power of these AIs and deciding, well, actually, we could do that completely differently. And that's when you start to work towards becoming an AI first organization. And the AI first organizations are going to be the winners.
And let me tell you something. There's an interesting dynamic that I've seen recently across 3 organizations that I've seen. And this is counterintuitive. Some organizations where they've got 1 or 2 people that are very bright, they get it, they want the technology to kind of be pushed ahead, but the organization is not moving at the pace they want, they've left, and I've seen them join new companies. So the thing is, like, and I've seen that 3 times in the last month, okay, and from people I'm connected with. So that's the thing you have to understand. The world is not static; it's changing, and senior talent in your organization that might be, you think, oh, they're going to lead us in that pathway, they might get frustrated. And if they see the rest of the team is not buying into it or there's no program, and they'll be like, I'm going to join somewhere else that is AI first, because they know that
Where's talent going to go? Talent is going to end up working for organizations that are AI first. They've automated the mundane, they've automated the repetitive, and they get it and on that journey so they could focus on the work they want to do and adding maximum value.
And with salary growth potential, right? No one wants to be in an organization where every year it's tougher and tougher. I mean, I don't mean to be harsh, but like you have to unlock opportunities, and there are concrete opportunities for every single business using AI, but you just got to find those ones, basically.
We had Danilo on the podcast last week. It's quite a sort of thought leader in AI, and he said very clearly, and he was running AI at Citibank years ago, and he was saying very clearly that the technology exists today to transform organizations. You don't need to wait for the next generation or AGI. It's there right now, and we see this every day. That's why we're so excited about it. It's there right now to transform almost everything you do that involves human resources and things that humans can't do or have never even thought of doing.
That's the super exciting bit. Like I see it all the time. There's like, when someone's like a customer of ours, we share like insiders and information and stuff like this. But like, there's some very interesting things that are possible, with like the data, which other people can't do, and very interesting.
Well, on that note, so go and do your homework, go to the Resource Center, download the How to Implement AI, read your future digital workforce document, and get in touch with us. Please leave us a review, and we'll get out our AI Insider. It's my job. I need to get on with that a lot. Getting told off. And we'll see you in the pod in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Implement AI podcast. If you're interested in learning more about how we can assist you and your business in leveraging AI for growth and efficiency, visit our website at implementai.io. Don't forget to subscribe to the Implement AI podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to stay updated on future episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.